afternoon. Thank you all very much for taking the time to come. My name is Governor Andrew Cuomo. Andrew will do just fine. Thank you very much for being here. We're very excited about today and the possibilities for today. And before we go any further, let me ask the distinguished guests we have with us to introduce themselves. And let me start with Peretz Levi. And I want to thank him very much for his hospitality and Technion, which has done such outstanding work, not just for Israel, but also for the world, and is really a model of innovation and what can be. And with that, Mr. Peretz Levi.
Thank you very much, Governor Cuomo. My name is Peretz Levi. I'm the president of the Technion in Israel, and from New York as well.
Ronnie Hakem, I'm the managing director at the Metropolitan Transportation Authority in New York. Very glad to be here. Thank you.
Robert Mojica, I'm the budget director for the state of New York and also a board member for the MTA in New York.
Thank you, Danny Dayan, a friend of the governor, the Consul General of Israel to New York.
Ami Applebaum, I'm the chairman of Israel Innovation Authority and the chief scientist in the Ministry of Economy and Industry.
Eric Gertler, I'm here as a board member of the Empire State Development Corporation in New York State.
Tzachi Anegbi, Minister for Regional Cooperation, a new friend of the governor, and married to a New Yorker.
Tommy Shuren, the CEO and co-founder of Civdrone, and I'm very honored to be here.
Candace Johnson, I'm the president and CEO of Roswell Park in Buffalo, New York.
David Yaski, I'm the director of state policy for Governor Cuomo.
Okay, thank you. Just to fill out Eric Gertler's introduction, Eric wears several hats. He's chairman of the U.S. News and World Report. He also serves on the Empire State Development Corporation Board, which is our main economic development agency. He is also a board member of Technion. I had applied to be a board member of Technion. I was rejected. They said I had no technical skills, no financial skills, and no applicable skills whatsoever. I then applied to be on the board of Cornell Technion, which is a joint venture in Manhattan. I was denied there also on the same basis. Thank you very much. The visit we have planned has two basic messages. First message is New York is open for business. For any state, any country, it is the economy that drives the train, and that is also true with New York. We've worked very hard to develop the economy of tomorrow. Our economy is stronger than it's ever been. We have more private sector jobs in the state of New York than ever before in history. We have taxes down all across the board. We are the state in the United States that's doing the highest level of investment in construction and infrastructure. New airports, new roads, new bridges, $150 billion more than any other state in the country. New York, where we lost a step, frankly, in the economy, was a couple of decades ago the Silicon Valleys of the world actually got ahead of New York in terms of innovation because Silicon Valley was better at commercialization. New York had the academic institutions. We were not as good at transferring from academia to the private market. We were not as good at bridging the gap of commercialization. And we have learned from that, and today is an extension of that. The New York-Israel economic relationship is unique. New York exports about $5 billion of products to Israel, the most of any state in the United States of America. And Israel exports to New York about $8 billion more than any other state in America. So the economic relationship is there, and it is strong. We want to make it even better. The future for us in New York is going to be growth in the tech economy. We're also doing very well in tech right now, but we want to do better. Technion, I think, literally is one of the nation's leaders in innovation and startups and application of technology. So the marriage between Technion and New York, which has already started, we are engaged, we may not be married, but Cornell Technion, that joint venture between Cornell University and Technion University exists, it's thriving, it's on Roosevelt Island, which is right outside of Manhattan, and we want to build on that. We're interested in focusing on 4 areas, potential areas of cooperation: the biotech and health, life sciences. Candace Johnson from Roswell. Roswell is one of the leading cancer R&D and institutes in the United States of America, Roswell. They work internationally, and they really are at the forefront nationwide. Northwell Health Systems is also here. Northwell is one of the largest employers in all of downstate New York and one of the leading healthcare institutions. So first is biotech, life sciences. Second is a general collaboration with startup incubators. I mentioned Silicon Valley. We want to get ahead of that and form joint incubators for startup companies that come out of the academic space, are looking to commercialize to the private sector space, are looking for private applications, and providing them the space and the facility and the resources and the support to actually survive and thrive in that incubator space. And we're interested in doing that jointly with Technion. Third is drones and drones research and development and application. The state has invested very heavily in drones. We believe in the future of the applications of drone technology. We have the first drone corridor in the United States of America, which is a cluster of companies, R&D companies that have come together around drones, and then a testing area for drones that is protected. And the fourth area, and where I think there may be a real opportunity for collaboration, and I just chatted with the Prime Minister about this, is the navigation system for New York's train system. Subway trains, commuter trains. New York has probably the largest subway system in the United States of America, if not the world. It's 600 miles of underground track. We have been trying for years to get a state-of-the-art technology to guide the navigation of the trains in the subway system. Right now, it's all manual. A person drives the train, looks at the train in front of them, and that is how you drive a train. Everyone has always said, well, if we had an automated system where one train could locate the other train and you had the distance between the two, and the trains could, quote unquote, talk to each other, we could increase the running time, decrease the space between trains, decrease human error. We've been working on this for a number of years. The companies that actually deal with navigation systems for trains are a very limited universe. The only reason I can explain it is some companies are not interested in dealing with government agencies, and trains are a somewhat specific application, but it's actually a huge market. Many companies in Israel are working on driverless technology, driverless cars, driverless trucks. That same system, frankly, I think a less sophisticated system, would work for trains. I mean, just think about it. Driverless car, you have all sorts of variables. You have passengers who can step out in front. You have crazy drivers. Not in New York. We're all very sane and hospitable drivers. But some places, they have reckless drivers. A train runs on a track. There are not that many variables. There are what they call interlockings, where trains will switch a track, but you have a train in the front, you have a train in the back, a train leaves the station, a train enters the station. There must be an application for that software to the train application. And it is a huge market, a huge market. The navigation system for the MTA alone, and Ronnie Hakem will speak to this, she's the head of the MTA, managing director, it's over $1 billion product, what we're looking to purchase. So the economic benefits are amazing. And whoever develops this software system, if you can make it in New York, you can make it anywhere, as the song goes. If you have an application for the New York City subway system, well, that can be sold to every train station around the country and around the world. And I really think it is an overlooked market opportunity. And I believe that technology has actually increased from the application that we're looking forward to. And again, these opportunities are not about just cooperation and intergovernmental relations, and this is about economics. There is money to be made here. We have one of the most aggressive economic development budgets of any state in the country. We will incentivize companies that come to New York. We will incentivize companies that are working with New York. We can provide cash incentive programs. We can provide tax incentive programs. In the case of the MTA, we're just looking to buy the product, to buy the software. So I think there are significant economic opportunities all across the board. The second message for the trip is a little different, and that is to talk about the current scourge of anti-Semitism that is happening around the world, but is also happening in the United States of America, I'm sad to say. As I'm sure you're aware, there have been horrific killings within synagogues in San Diego, California, and in Pittsburgh. I would like to say that we've been immune in the state of New York, but we're not. We've had an 83% increase in anti-Semitic activity in New York City. In New York City. Now, this is hard for me to imagine. I am a New York City born and bred, if you can't tell from the accent. And the Jewish community in New York City, it is so assimilated, so culturalized in New York, that I can't even imagine anyone drawing a distinction. You have 1.75 million Jewish people in New York. More Jewish people in New York than any place outside of Israel. And it is part of the community. Two of my sisters married Jewish men. My brother-in-law, Kenneth Cole, my brother-in-law, Howard Mayer. I have 3 nieces from those marriages. It's almost incomprehensible to me to see this rise in anti-Semitism. And as governor of New York, I want you to know first, I am doing everything possible in my professional capacity. We have zero tolerance. We have more police investigations than ever before. We have stricter laws than ever before. And when we find people who have done anti-Semitic activity, they will be prosecuted to the fullest extent of the law, period. Second, we're now funding security programs, first-time time ever for religious affiliated organizations, schools, centers, after schools, etc., which is unfortunate that we have to do that, but we do. And lastly, not as governor, but as Andrew Cuomo, and someone who loves Israel and loves the Jewish community with all his heart, because the Jewish community is part of my family, literally and figuratively. If you grow up in New York, the Jewish community is part of the New York family. I brought my daughters here with me today on their first trip, Mariah, Cara, and Michaela, because I want my family to say to your family how sad and embarrassed and disgusted I am with these incidents of anti-Semitism, and to tell you that we will not let it stand, and it does not reflect the overwhelming majority of the 18 million people in New York State who love the Jewish community. And I wanted you to hear that from me. I wanted you to hear that from me, from my mouth, and look in my eyes with my daughters here. And hopefully we will get over this ugly period. It's not just anti-Semitism. There is a spirit of division and anger and hatred in the United States, as there is now in so many countries around the world, where we demonize differences. And how ironic for the United States of America to demonize differences when it was the one country founded on differences, right? There were no Native Americans except the earliest Native Americans who were there before the Pilgrims and everyone came. Everyone who is now in America came from somewhere else. And it's the greatest irony that we would now distinguish and draw lines by race or religion. And we will get through this ugly phase. One of the ways to get through it, I think, is by developing the relationship, and developing economic relationships can actually help that. It can build the bridges, and that's what we're looking forward to doing today. So I thank you all very, very much for being here. This is a beginning conversation. We are going to have a follow-up conference at Cornell Technion to give more information, more details, and hopefully have a phase 2 to this conversation. I think it's only fair that phase 2 is Cornell Technion. I came to Israel on this trip. You come to New York on the next trip. And I think there's phenomenal potential, economic, social, and from a relationship point of view. And with that, I'll turn it over to Eric Gertler. Thank you.
First, let me thank the governor for hosting this roundtable on economic development, but also for his very important remarks on anti-Semitism and the leadership that he's taking on that issue, which is really quite important. You know, I have had the privilege to come to Israel quite often, but I must say, Governor, coming with you here to Israel and being able to both celebrate and promote the ties between a great state and a great nation is really unrivaled. So thank you for that as well.
Thank you very much.
In my capacity as a board member of the Empire State Development Corporation, I can tell you that the economy of New York State is thriving, and that's not just New York City. The governor is working extremely hard on strengthening the economy throughout New York State, from Buffalo to Rochester, and from Syracuse to Long Island. And for those of you that are wondering where these places are, when you come visit Cornell Tech, we'll show you where all these other places are upstate in New York. as well as a board member of Technion, and thanks to Peretz Levy, and clearly Technion, in my case, did not do an extensive review of my technical skills. So, but I can tell you firsthand the need for global synergy and collaboration in our marketplace. And this is not just in the private sector, but also in the public sector to drive change, to spur innovation, and to make sure that we're establishing best practices. New York's innovation economy builds on R&D from the wealth of our top private and public universities and the sizable STEM talent that we have in the state, as well as the many of the entrepreneurial businesses that are focused on tech, venture capital, life sciences, photonics, and clean and renewable energy. New York State truly is the global center of technology-driven business innovation. Let me give you a few examples. The unmanned aerial systems industry has made a home in central New York and the Mohawk Valley thanks to the Genius New York competition and to a state-of-the-art 50-mile drone test corridor built with more than $30 million in investment from New York State. And Luminate New York is creating an optics, photonics, and imaging hub in the Figure Lakes region of New York, which is in the sort of north-central region of New York State. As the governor said, business growth in New York State is our top priority. And as a state, we offer loans, grants, and tax credits, as well as other financing and technical assistance to support entrepreneurs. As the governor said, we are not just open to business, but we are open to new ideas. Our industry university partnerships also grow businesses through statewide centers that assist early-stage companies and advance technology through NISTAR, our Division of Science, Technology, and Innovation. As a state, we are also investing more than ever in cutting-edge programs and facilities to expand 21st century healthcare options to ensure that New Yorkers have access to the highest quality healthcare available. This year, New York enacted the most aggressive climate change program in the nation, establishing ambitious clean energy and pollution reduction goals. And we are also establishing the most aggressive offshore wind program in North America, producing enough offshore wind energy to power nearly 6 million New York State households. Together, these projects are fueling economic growth and creating the economy of tomorrow that we're doing today. The numbers confirm this approach to economic development. New York State has more than 8 million private sector jobs, the highest in state history, and record low unemployment. Now, contributing to this success, and one of the reasons that we're here, has been New York and Israel's storied history as a global trading partner that has strengthened our respective business communities. As trading partners, we invest in each other's success. New York State is the top state for exports in Israel, more than double that of California. And Israel consistently ranks among the top 5 export markets for New York State products. More than 36% of all export from the United States to Israel, and that's roughly about $5 billion annually, comes from New York State. We've helped incubate Israeli startups and supported them through the various incentive programs that we have. Through our Global New York International Division and our Israeli representative, Jerry Stock, who's here, and hopefully you'll get a chance to meet him, is here to assist Israeli companies interested in expanding to New York and also to develop trade connections between New York State companies and the Israeli market. We also maintain close ties with our Israeli counterparts, working closely and cooperatively with the Israel Economic Mission in New York City and the American-Israel Chamber of Commerce. My core message to you is the same message that the governor just told you. New York State is open to business and to new ideas. And when you think about the robust economy that's in New York and both the tech and non-tech businesses, and you think about the startups here in Israel, this is the classic case where 1 + 1 = 3. Israeli companies thrive in our New York environment Many are doing so now, others want to be there, and we are simply here to make it happen. Thank you. And now I'd like to turn it over to the Minister for Regional Cooperation, Sahi Hanegbi. Thank you.
Thank you, Eric. Governor, ladies and gentlemen, it is truly a pleasure to be here with you for this economic roundtable. On behalf of the government of Israel, I thank you for your initiative and efforts to expand economic cooperation between Israel and the state of New York. In particular, I want to thank Governor Cuomo for hosting this event. Generally, when a governor visits us, I say thank you simply for making the trip to Israel and demonstrating solidarity and friendship with us. But that really does not do justice to Andrew Cuomo. Your being here today is just the latest manifestation of your lifelong friendship with Israel and the Jewish people. Whether it is expanding trade between New York and Israel, standing up to the BDS movement, or combating anti-Semitism, you have been an unflinching friend and ally. It is my great privilege to attend this event with you. The state of New York and the state of Israel have a large and growing trade relationship. It makes all the sense in the world. We are the world's only Jewish state, and New York Jewish community is the largest outside Israel. Israel is one of the most innovative high-tech ecosystems on earth, and New York is the world's financial center. However, just because having a strong economic relationship makes sense, it doesn't mean it just happens. It is certainly not something we should ever take for granted. It is the efforts of Governor Cuomo and the leaders in this room that ensure the relationship stays on track and that opportunities are seized for our mutual benefit. The areas of focus for today's roundtable are all critically important. They provide excellent avenues for further cooperation. Forums such as this that bring together our best and brightest innovators, entrepreneurs, and business leaders maximize the unlimited potential for economic development potential between New York and Israel. I wish you a productive and successful roundtable this afternoon. Thank you all.
Thank you, Minister. And now I'd like to turn it over to Ami Applebaum, and after his remarks, we're going to have a very brief ceremony.
Thank you, Eric, and thank you, Governor Andrew Cuomo, for coming here. Thank you, Minister Tzachi Hanegbi, for your wise comments, and I want to thank Professor Peretz Lavi being here as I graduated the Technion. So it's a pleasure to be here. And it's a pleasure that all of you came, to all of you that arrived here. And Governor Cuomo, we don't take it as a given that out of your busy schedule, you take the time off, you bring large delegation, and you come from all other places that you can find on the globe, you come to Israel. But after you mention your 4 projects of the construction, the cancer, the drones, the navigation systems, I'm telling you, I may surprise you, you're at the right place at the right time. Because you will find here technologies that will help and will enable all those big visions that you have. And I want to add one more vision for that, that's coming as a thread through all those technology. There is another technology that I'm sure you are looking, and that to protect all those digital technology and all those ideas that you have here, to protect them using a cyber technology. Because if those systems will not be protected from day one, will not be created with a protection that the cyber technology provide, then it all can go up in flame and cause more damage than create value. And if you talk about cyber, then let me tell you that 20% of the R&D investment in the civilian cyber technology, 20% worldwide, is invested here in Israel. Put aside all the defense, and I don't want to talk about that. That's not my charter. just the commercial and civilian R&D investment in cyber. So you are coming here to the right place at the right time with the right technology. Countries and states and organizations that will not absorb and will not react to the changes that the world is going to do today, every aspect of our life is changing. Driving from point A to point B, driving on the public transportation, how the public transportation look like, how we educate people, how we get the medical treatment, everything is changing. And those states and those countries and those organizations who will not realize that the change is coming, will not get ready, will not react to that, will stay behind. Those who will prevail. Those who will not will stay behind. And what Israel is offering here is, yes, we are only 9 million people, but we have more than 6,000 startups. We have out-of-the-box thinking. We have the courage to think on breakthrough idea and the capacity to turn it into a product on a very, very fast pace. And part of it, I would say, enabling that is the wisdom that the governments of Israel, not everyone gives compliment to governments, but I think what Israeli government did 42 years ago by establishing the chief scientist and saying, I'm going to give public money to the private sector. Listen to that. Public money, not the other way around, usually the other way around, right? Public money to the private sector for research and development is breakthrough idea. Not too many countries do that. And that breakthrough idea created many thousands and thousands of startups and created the image that Israel had and the reality of startup nation. And that startup nation is big pride for everyone here in Israel. That said, we're looking forward. We don't just sit on the startup nation, because if you just start up, then what is the value to the economy? Just startup. Well, we are now trying to write the book from startup nation to a smart-up nation. The smart-up nation that we take all those wealth of innovation that we have and we translate it into Israel economy to drive them into the traditional industry, to the Israel periphery, and to shrink social gaps, to bring more women to the high-tech, to bring more ultra-Orthodox to the high-tech, to bring more Israeli Arabs. And think about more Israeli Arabs and what that can do to the whole peace process in the Middle East. It's not my job, that's Mr. Tzachi Hanegbi. We will create the tool to enable him to be in a much stronger position where Israel is then. So with that, at the same time, we are working continuously with the academia to transfer as fast as we can all the vast research and basic science that they have to apply research to technology transfer to product. So that's what you will find in Israel. I'm sure that will come up around the round table. And I want to finish and to say, Israel today is a very, very different country from where we were even 5 years ago. Very different. And you are coming here, and all the businessmen that came here, Israel is open for business. Philanthropic work, donation, it's all good. But that should continue. But today, you are here for business, and there are many, many opportunities, and thank you all for coming.
Thank you, Chairman Applebaum. And now it is my great honor on behalf of Governor Cuomo to announce an MOU between New York State and the Israeli Innovation Authority that will do 4 things. 1, it'll identify locations to test smart city technology. 2, it'll find shared incubator space and programs for each of the countries. 3, do joint RFPs for innovative technology. And 4, make space in 10 hotspots around New York State for Israeli companies. And now we will sign this memorandum.
Who signs first?
You? The guest is always first.
Yeah, okay.
Congratulations, it's signed.
And over the course of the next 2 days, you'll see that there'll be other announcements. A lot of work has been done by the team here, so you'll wait and see. And now it is my pleasure to introduce President Peretz Levy from Technion, and we will not stall the future. He has 5,000 students waiting at convocation ceremonies to get their B Bachelor's in Science. So thank you for joining us today.
Thank you very much, Eric, and thank you very much, Governor Cuomo. I must say that you have been denied as a board member, but as a keynote speaker for the commencement, you'll be perfect. Thank you, Governor, for your leadership and partnership with the Technion and New York State. We have long enjoyed this incredibly beneficial collaboration. In New York State, we have Cornell Tech and JTCI, Jacobs Technion Cornell Institute on Roosevelt Island, as a living, breathing example of this collaboration. Not only now, but in the future with the students that graduate. They will see the partnership and the friendship that is New York State and Technion. Governor, I remember on the September 2017 when we inaugurated the campus, you turned to me and you said, Peretz, you are doing a mitzvah for New York. I thought about it. Maybe we're doing a mitzvah, but what we are doing, we are building a bridge. A bridge not only between Technion and Cornell or New York and Haifa, between Israel and the United States. And your visit today is a testimony for this bridge. Most recently, under Governor Cuomo's leadership, we have partnered with the New York City Genome Center to bring the entrepreneurial experience of Technion and the world-class research capacity of the Genome Center together. I would like to let you know that today we sent the first 81 samples of Lou Gehrig disease patients, ALS patients from Israel, to the Genome Center for a project that will do a genetic mapping of every single patient in Israel in the next few years. This is a unique project that, thank you, Governor Cuomo, you initiated it. Together, we are accelerating biomedical research, advanced genomic treatments and clinical applications, and foster the commercialization and job creation capacities of the life sciences industry. And I'm confident that the outcome of this conference today will build on these advancements. We also look forward to working on mass transit and mobility, bringing some of our transportation experts together with leading Israeli companies and academics in the mobility, navigational, and technology space. Interestingly, this morning, I got the information that Technion came #1 in Europe in applying for urban mobility contest, and we got the largest number of grants from the European Research Council. As the governor said, the MTA is throwing old ways of thinking and looking for new technologies and methods to rehabilitate and modernize its century-old system and get the work done smarter and faster. In this room today are experts on transportation from the Technion, Cornell Tech, and this partnership continues as we work to address the broader transportation mobility concerns of this rapidly changing world. Thank you, Governor Cuomo. Next time in Haifa.
Thank you, Peretz, for joining us. And now I'd like to turn it over to Ronnie Hakim, please.
Thank you, Eric. Thank you very much, and it's a sincere pleasure for me to be here on behalf of the MTA, and thank you, Governor, for convening this important conference. You know, the Governor highlighted that the MTA needs new ideas, And when I look around this room, that's what I see. I see new ideas and opportunities for new partnerships. So let's take full advantage of the time that we have together. Everyone is familiar with the MTA. I'm sure many of you have ridden our subways or our buses, our trains, or traveled our bridges and tunnels. And you know one truth: it's an old system. And so we need to accelerate the implementation of technology and innovation to improve this system. This year, the governor secured congestion pricing, which will allow the MTA to make major improvements to our transit system's outdated, archaic signaling technology and other technologies as well, all of which contribute to commuter delays and interferences with their use of the transit system. This congestion pricing is so fundamentally important to the MTA because it will translate into $15 billion for our next capital program. That's a foundation upon which we can all together, working together with your ideas in this room, build for a new MTA. And we're exploring all possible solutions to our engineering challenges in all facets of our system. New technologies, including many developed by companies represented here today that may not traditionally think of themselves as transit system partners, but you are, because you're revolutionizing things like the automotive industry. My goal today, as instructed by our governor, is to think broadly and creatively about how your ideas and your technologies might benefit my customers, the MTA customers, not only in signaling, but in maintenance, in route optimization, planning, customer communications, bus travel technologies, digital systems, cybersecurity that was so critically mentioned, scheduling. Any ideas that you have, we want to hear them, and we are here to listen. I suspect that you will be able to identify possibilities that we in New York at the MTA have not even thought of. And so we're a motivated market for New York in our mobility innovations. And I very much look forward to our conversations. And thank you, Governor, for the opportunity to be here.
Thank you, Ronnie. And now I'd like to ask Tom Yashurin to speak.
Thank you, Governor, for this great opportunity to be here and represent the UAS ecosystem of Israel and New York State. Civil would not exist without the help and support of the State of New York, the Israeli Innovation Authority, and the Technion. The Genius New York program and initiative has helped us to make our product ready for market, with giving us the opportunity to be in front of clients and make the product market fit. And also the partnerships with the other UAS ecosystem in Central New York and the region, with New Air test sites and other startups who I see here today as well. We're looking forward to work with the NYSERDA program as well as supporting the cause of creating renewable energy and be part of the transportation and construction industry in the state of New York. Thank you so much.
Thank you. And lastly, Dr. Johnson.
Thank you. I'd like to also thank Governor Cuomo for inviting Roswell Park here today. Dr. Tom Schwab is here with me. He's the Chief of Business Development and Strategy. Roswell Park is the oldest cancer center in 1989, and when Buffalo was actually a big city in those days. It was one of the largest cities in the country. So how have we managed to stay sort of on the cutting edge through all that time? Well, we've managed it because we reach out, and we reach out to partnerships and strategic initiatives wherever they may lead us. And the governor and I have had some very interesting partnerships that have happened under his vision and his leadership that I think hopefully are going to benefit people all over the world with some of the therapies that we do. I'd also like to thank Dr. Michael Oppenheim from Northwell, who's here today to join us in our breakout session. You know, cancer affects all of us. We sit in this room. You can't tell me, no matter who we are, what country we're from, where you live, cancer affects you and your families. And so we're all about new therapies. You know, we're very excited about the immune system. There's so much potential there to be able to understand it. Precision medicine also, vaccine approaches to even prevent cancer. these are all the things that we want to do, and we want to do them, and we want to get them into patients sooner. And the way we're going to do that is we need to work together. And Israel has been on the forefront of this in research and in innovation. And so what we're going to do today is to continue some relationships and really solidify them. You know, what happens when you have these incredible events that the governor has organized is you shine a spotlight, and you really, really catalyze so many things can happen from these just beginning events. And so I'm excited. The Vice President and Dean of Research from the University of Haifa, President Ido Azaki, I've already had some discussions with him. We have many, many things that we can do together. The Taber Bioinformatics Center at the University of Haifa, Dr. Brodsky, who has extended hospitality to us this morning. The bioinformatics excellence at the University of Haifa is incredible, and what we can do to help get more out of the data that we have is really for the future. And then Maccabi Healthcare Services with Professor Varda Shaliv, who's here today. Maccabi is one of the largest health systems in Israel, and you know, we want to be able to bring these therapies to the Maccabi system. They have some things that we could learn from, and from this, magic is going to happen. I'm sure of it. And so we need to solve this cancer problem. We need all the technology. We need our minds to come together. And so I'm excited for the roundtable, and I'm really thrilled to be here and look forward to some excitement coming out of our roundtable discussion. Thank you very much.
Before we move to our roundtable discussions, I want to make a few acknowledgments. I want to again thank Ambassador Danny Dayan, who's the Consul General of Israel to New York, who is absolutely omnipresent in New York City and New York State. I also want to acknowledge Melissa DeRosa, Secretary to the Governor, Robert Mojica, Director of Budget, and also David Yaski, Director of Policy, and also Dan Gillerman, who's the former Ambassador of the United Nations and who single-handedly spends his career forging U.S.-Israeli relations and relations with New York State, having spent so much time there. So, here's how it's going to work for the roundtables. There'll be 3 roundtables downstairs on drones, healthcare, and transportation. The last roundtable will be up here on energy, cybersecurity, and other areas. We'll spend about 45 minutes going through the roundtables. They'll be led by someone from the New York State team here. And then we'll reassemble back up here for 15 minutes for some snacks and drinks. So thank you very much. And again, Governor Cuomo, thank you for bringing us together.
Thank you all very much. Thank you. Well done.